Yes.
Hello, welcome to the live stream of consciousness. How's everybody doing?
What is happening? We are back.
Yeah, we are back as per usual. Week in, week out. We do it because we love it, man. How you guys do it? Forgive me if I look a little haggard. I was my back is a little jacked up today, so I'm a little uncomfortable.
You don't look haggard. You look
Yeah.
wonderful.
Oh well, thank you thank you very much. I appreciate it. And all of a sudden, now I have to cough, of course. Somebody's getting me, but yeah, I'm here with my awesome background. I'm rocking and rolling today. How is life in Michael Zinn's land?
Life is wonderful, man. I've just been thinking about it lately, and I feel like, man, I gotta stop being so happy all the time and like always talking about how life is wonderful.
Sounds
And
like
I'm
a
like,
sarcastic comment that somebody might make to you.
yeah, and then I'm like, wait a second. That's just the way I am and the way it is. So yeah, I mean, life is wonderful. I just made a little social media post just thinking about the jobs that I'm working at and how much I love them and the opportunities that they allow me, because even though I'm working for some other people at these jobs, both of those people appreciate me to the fact that if I say, hey, I've got this thing I got to do, like when you were in town and we had to film a little bit, I'm able to do it, and I'm just really grateful for that. It's been a good week.
It really does seem like this show kind of kicked off for you, like a real steady stream of eclectic and interesting things like that. Like we talked so much about wanting to make content and trying to figure out what that was, and then we developed this show just so that we could consistently get together as friends and make content, produce something that we was aligned with our souls and made us feel good to show up and do. And it really does seem like you've just had a steady stream of awesome eclectic content being made coming out of your office there. So that's pretty awesome. I'm very happy for you.
Totally. Oh, Courtney says, send me your good vibes. Here they are, Courtney.
Oh yeah, what's going on with all of you guys out in London and all of our people?
Angela says, my beautiful happy is like when a cat rubs against you and shares her energy. That's awesome. I love that, Angela.
I saw there's a great conversation that's going on in the comments here before the show even began. Angela was is a little bit hurt by peer pressure and sort of free will, infringement that's being put upon her this week. And I had some real major work for myself to be done. As we were making the joke at my work doing Food Paradise this week, we were saying Mercury's in Gatorade. and we're feeling it. And there's a really major thing that I came to that when we talk about polarity and the nature of the universe, and me, I always like to talk about where is the momentum. When I do these angel card readings, you're tying yourself into the energy of a thing. It's going this way, it's coming back this way, and the why are we dealing in polarity, and what does polarity achieve? Well, initially, polarity is that pull away from the oneness, as we're just one inert thing, and then it divides and it becomes an awakened thing and a quiet thing, and that there's this inherent push-pull. The push-pull is to bring us into balance of those two things, of those two concepts. And sometimes and this falls into some of the things that we've talked about in previous weeks about righteousness. When you get righteous, that you've come to a conclusion that there's a right answer, and they're not. There's no right answer. The glass is half full and it's half empty at the same time.
They're all right answers.
Yeah. So the balance is where we're trying to get. We're trying to get to that. It's half full. It's half empty. It's half. Okay. Wait. It's half. Wait, it's both. It's balanced.
Right.
So the concept of people around you affecting your free will, that has always been a really big deal pet peeve for me. And I will say that I think at the end of the day, the most right answer is to try to be as gentle with your influence as you can be. And that, you do have a lot of power, and to go into somebody else's world and kick them around isn't exactly the kindest thing that you can do. But everybody has positive effect that they can be on people. We need each other. You
Mhm.
know, it's in learning from Michael that I get the pieces that I couldn't have gotten myself. It's from learning from me that Michael gets pieces that he couldn't get from himself.
Yeah,
You know, I think
absolutely.
spoken about in my family how my brother Cody really acts for me as that a lot.
Mhm.
You know, where he's able to act in a way or say something in a way that I couldn't quite get around to.
Right.
So that
Helps your perception a little bit.
yeah, exactly. So we can't forget, you know, that we need each other, and you know, so as much as we might want to put up a wall and go, you know, stop influencing me, that isn't the balanced conclusion. And I'll use myself as an example. You know, because I always sort of intuitively knew that sort of gentle force was the way to go, and not, you know, overbearing, you know, force. I was very kicked around as a young man and teenager and whatnot. I am very sensitive, and I know we have a lot of empathetic and sensitive people in the audience. I think everybody's sensitive once they open themselves up to their sensitivity.
Sure.
But you know, when you are somebody who is actively sensitive and looking to others and their feelings and their emotions to try to guard who you are, you end up betraying yourself by making yourself and trying to adjust yourself to how other people feel and not listening to how you feel.
Mhm.
So, in the beginning of my existence, I was in one polarity going, "Oh, I just
Right,
want to make all these people happy."
right. Well, you were
And
talking about that last week. You were talking about that with your sister. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, yeah. And when I got to that place of like, well, it doesn't matter what I do, I can't make these people happy. I set the gear in the other motion, whoop, to swing back the other way of
Mhm,
I will guard myself and I will return to who I am supposed to be.
mhm,
I will reclaim me.
mhm,
And I'm going to do this by blocking out all of the things that other people have to say, the feelings that everybody else has,
mhm.
so that I can feel what I feel because I've lost track of who I am because I was too far on this side. But it's we swing one way, we swing another way, and it's
Mhm.
all to come to balance in the middle. And I
Right.
had a bit of a moment where I was like, "Roar, my way, you know, and then I took a breath and I went, well, what is the thing that you keep reminding yourself about making sure that your way doesn't deprive you of the brilliance of Cody Blue Snyder, the
Right.
brilliance of Shane Snyder,
Right,
the
right, right.
brilliance of Dee and Suzette? And you know, your family tends
The
to be
balance, yeah, the balance. You need the balance.
and I kept you know I would make exceptions sort of for them, like when I would like get on the you know phone with them or I'd be sitting with them, I would try to remind myself or Michael, you're a great example too of somebody who I would like consciously be like, don't block yourself from the wisdom of Michael Zinn, you know, that
Mhm,
he's here for a reason and he can help guide you and center you, you know. But what I really ultimately realized was that it was more about how I was feeling about it, and that it's okay to be, well, I should say, not it's okay. You should be centered and in like a strong inner knowing of who you are and
mhm,
what you're about, what you want to be.
mhm,
But at
mhm.
the same time, we're this great, you know, mixing pot, you know, of consciousness. And the greatest version of me is the version that can properly assess and take in all of the other opinions without having this visceral reaction. The
Right,
reaction before was I'm being beaten down by all these personalities. And then the
right.
reaction later was I'm not going to be beaten down by these personalities. And what's the middle of like, there's nothing to be beaten down by. There's just opinions. You know, even like if somebody can give me some good advice and I can't take it, well, great. I've lost the ability to get the signal of, hey, maybe you should go the other way.
Right.
So if it's not, say, the best advice, I'm losing my ability to proper measure the temperature of the room I live in, of the
Mhm,
planet Earth, of my
mhm,
family.
mhm.
You know, they may not be right for me, and I can know that in my heart that this isn't the right advice for me. But I can also be able to have take that temperature, I think is the best way to say, of how do people feel? Where are they feeling? Where are their sensitivities so
Right.
that I can behave better? I can operate and communicate better in the world because
Sure.
I'm aware and not blocking myself from the information.
Right, right. Well,
And
that's the balance that you're talking about.
exactly.
Exactly. Yeah.
And if you walk into the room and you're like, don't hit me in the face, that's the wrong reaction.
Right.
There's a righteous answer here, and there isn't.
Right.
Everybody's got something to say.
Well, you know what? I think it's really as simple as whatever happened to walking down the street, somebody's walking towards you, you look them in the eye, they look you in your eye, you smile and you say, "Hey, how's it going?" It's so freaking simple. I mean, it's so freaking simple, you know what I mean? But anyway, that I don't mean to make a
No,
tangent of what
I,
you
I,
were saying, but
it's exactly sort of that simple thing. And
yeah.
I think what happens is we especially when we're kids and we get destroyed in some fashions.
Mhm.
I'm really happy-go-lucky kind of guy by my nature,
Mhm.
and the being sensitive to other people led me on a path where I really felt very foolish. I felt like naive or stupid, and I'm also a very smart guy, and I value my intelligence and feeling like I wasn't being perceived that way. Like that people
Right.
were taking me being a Toys R Us kid to mean I wasn't intelligent. Like it
Right.
started it
We
started
value
to
your intelligence here.
yeah, it started to make me guard
Right.
myself and callous myself. And and then there was this certain shift of like, well, I need to get back to being that guy. And then I'm gonna guard myself so I can be this Toys R Us kid. And I don't have to feel any of the things that made me not be that guy yesterday. I
Right.
don't want to be that guy. Well, yeah, I can know that I'm that guy and still take in information, but no longer receive it and perceive it as being any sort of attack on who I am,
Of
which
course.
is
Yeah, of
what
course.
this stuff becomes. And Angela was saying, that people were putting pressure on her
Right.
in an area or
So
another.
so Ninja said, I was like that when I was younger, always trying to please everyone and worried that everyone's mad at me all the time. And I realized the only person I need to please is myself. So
Well, and that's
that's
true.
it.
But
That's
the balance, Ninja, and I'm
absolutely
not saying you haven't reached the balance, but the balance is because as you do that, when you say the only person I got to please is myself, that's not true.
mhm.
We're one. And I was saying that. And this is the lesson. The lesson is that that's not true. I have to please
Well,
myself.
that's another level. That's like
It-
realizing that you are one with everybody, so you have to please everybody, really,
well, but
because
this is the thing, though. We think that there's a right answer, but
right,
there's another level to the right answer.
right,
And the right answer perpetually tends to be coming into balance and having a more balanced perspective on these things. So what I would say to you, Angela, is it the kindest and most wonderful behavior of somebody to put pressure on you and tell you what you should do? No. Is it fairly typical of living in this world? Yes. Is it going to happen again? Yes. Would it behoove you to balance yourself so that you know what you know and you don't get upset when people come and they bring things to you that you don't know? When I was meditating on this yesterday, my spirits came to me and they said, Jesse, don't you like to live your life on the bleeding edge? And I said, absolutely. I'm trying to be the best man I can be. And they said, and do you think that everybody is exactly where you may be thinking and how forward feeling and forward thinking as you may be? And I said, no, not exactly. And they said, well, isn't it possible that if you are really at that bleeding edge, that the people around you aren't going to be able to see what you see because you're at the edge and they're not? And I said, yes. And I said, so why would you be surprised that people might question the choices that you're making because they can't see that edge yet? And I went, oh, well, I get that. Like if I'm really going to be leading the way, then that would mean that on some level, I would be in front of the pack with a view that was different than those who were behind me. And
Mhm.
how could they possibly see? And how could I ever get completely validated by those who can't see what I can see? And, I hope that doesn't sound remotely egotistical, because I don't mean it in that sort of fashion at all. But, it's sort of just the words that I can pick for trying to raise the bar and push the envelope and be better today than I was yesterday. And sometimes you're going to be ahead of the pack, and you're going to see things that they can't see. And you're going to recognize, Angela, that how this person is behaving is a little unkind, and that there's a better way. But to righteously judge them as they don't know the right way is is just going back into the behaviors and that are happening all over. When somebody is trying to put some pressure on you, there's a little bit of a, usually it comes out of love, at the end of the day, 100%, people don't say anything if they don't care. My mom used to say that to me all the time. If I didn't care, I'd let you do whatever you wanted. And there's truth to that. So just the mere fact that this lady is going to you, blah, 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 it suggests, and you can interpret people's care a lot of ways. Oh, they don't care about me, they care about my kids, or they don't care about me, they care. But eh, I like to just give it to them. They're demonstrating an amount of care in your direction. And even though they can't see what you see and why you think it's okay and why you feel all right about the situation, um, they're coming to you because they care. If they didn't care, they wouldn't say anything.
Mhm.
It's really, it's true. And people's, the way people care, it it gets terrible. With me and my family, I used to, we're some tough people. My mom's a real tough lady, my dad's a real tough guy, and they taught me a lot of toughness. And sometimes in that caring, it would come at me really tough, and sometimes in me caring what they thought, I'd come back at them really tough. And fixing our relationship in a lot of ways came from me changing how I would respond and not react so tough, react
Right,
to
right,
much more
right. Well,
softness.
it looks like I don't know if you've been following along in the chat. It looks like Angela says, "I told him I knew he meant well, but his way works for him and mine for me." So that's there you go. I mean,
You
it's
nailed it there, Angela, and thank you for giving us a good subject to talk about, because
yeah,
I mean, that's really the thing. And I want to get to our guests in 2 seconds, but it's it in everything. I'm learning right now. I've been missing my children like crazy. My whole life, I was dealing with body pain from getting hit by a car, and I wasn't acknowledging it. And I went from like not acknowledging it to super hypersensitivity because I hit 30 and I was in pain all the time. I gotta fix this. I gotta fix this. Like acknowledging it, and then I started to realize I'm acknowledging this too much. I'm dwelling on it. Then I pulled back from that, and I got back into my old patterns of kind of ignoring it again. And then I realized recently, as I kept having these bouts of like at a certain period of time, I would be overwhelmed with emotion, and I just had to cry because I missed my kids so badly. And I'm here in California working and making money and changing all of our lives. I'm doing it for them. I'm not doing it for me. And it's all about them. But I would just like block my feelings. And I realized, today that, oh, with like every other thing, I need balance. I need to be able to feel and acknowledge that I miss my babies. I love them.
well, you know what? I gotta say, it's interesting that you're saying that because I was actually going to mention it. Like watching you interacting with your daughter, but we were hanging out before the show started, and we were just getting ready, and
It's playing
and
some
and
games.
Jesse's like, "I'm playing video games with my daughter, so don't distract me, don't talk," and I could hear her.
She's very smart. I need to win.
Yeah, yeah. So I could hear her, and he was sitting there with his device, and they're playing video games back and forth, and it was just so wonderful to watch and hear that interaction. Actually, I walked out of the room and I'm thinking, wow, he's gonna really miss that in a couple of years, when she gets too old for that. And she's like, I don't want to play video games, Dad. But I didn't, I was like,
Well, and the
it was a
conclusion to
wonderful moment.
Yeah, the conclusion to that too is because I called my brother too this morning as my spiritual advisor, and I was just like, give me advice here. And he was talking to me, and at a certain point, I realized that thing that like, oh yeah, like I like block myself from everybody, I open myself up to everybody. I got to be in the middle. Oh, I'm like, I won't feel this pain. I'm feeling the pain. Like I gotta be able to properly acknowledge the pain without it freaking me out. I have to be able to properly acknowledge and take what I can take from it. You need to be able to properly acknowledge the other ones in the universe and take what you can take from the experience, whatever it may be, and
Yeah.
getting yourself into balance in all things. It's back and forth until you get somewhere, until the swing is less abrupt and less
Or
painful.
you're just finally like, "Oh, I realize I'm on this ride," and you fucking enjoy it.
Exactly. Exactly. That's the biggest thing. Right? What's the glass half? The glass
You
has
know, you're like, "Oh, I'm on that Buccaneer thing. Here we go. Whoa, everything's great. Oh
I tell you
shit,
what, man,
everything
that's so
sucks."
funny, the Buccaneer thing. That's the one ride that makes me sick. And my son Captain was at Adventureland in Long Island the other day, and he got sick from the friggin'
That's
bucket ride.
hysterical. Oh my god.
The ride that makes us sick. Oh,
Like father, like son, man.
ah,
It's a metaphor for life. It
it
just
is
makes
a
you sick.
metaphor for life.
All
All right,
right, so
Michael, let's
we've
get to
been
our guest.
rambling for 20 minutes.
Hopefully, we have just inspired our guest, and I'm so
Oh,
excited
he
about it.
came to the table already inspired. I'm so freaking excited for an amazing conversation. Let me just do the intro here. Hardy Patel is a guy who I met. Somebody recommended either me to him or him to me. He was putting on an event at a mansion, and it was a gathering of the vibes kind of thing, where it was a psychic slash spiritual fair, and there were vendors who were selling things like crystals and handmade instruments and clothing and candles and things like that, and then there were psychics there who were doing readings and doing tarot cards and all sorts of wonderful stuff. And I met him. He was an amazing guy, and I found out that he also was like kind of in the midst of, he had opened up something called the Float Place, which I was familiar with. And the Float Place, if you guys aren't familiar with float therapy or sensory deprivation therapy, it's basically where you get into a kind of like a bathtub slash tank filled with water that is heavily salinated so that you float in the water. And it's also there's a bunch of different parameters. It's body temperature, so you end up not feeling it once you kind of get acclimated, and then you put in earplugs, and the room is shut tight, and so all of your senses are deprived, and
Yeah, it's like sensory deprivation tank.
it's like meditation on steroids. It's just such an amazing experience if you haven't done it, and I'll let him tell you about how he got into that, and I guess his experience with it. I remember, I'm a little bit of an older gentleman, so I remember a movie in the 70s called Altered States, where they kind of mixed that with hallucinogenics and stuff like that. And the guy who was doing it was he was a scientist, and he was actually trying to, I don't want to say he was trying to go back in time, but he was trying to understand the essence of being. I mean, it's really a great movie. It's probably dated at this point if you find it, but Altered States was the name of that movie.
And that's
Anyway,
life story.
yeah. Hardy is also, from there, we just became friends, and he was just such an amazing energy to be around. But he also, I'm going to give him credit now for introducing me to my first kirtan. I had no idea. I don't think I had ever heard the word. I did know what a kirtan was, having seen it when I was a kid, but there was so much like stigma attached to it because it was traditionally like a Hare Krishna thing. And there was a stigma attached to Hare Krishna in general. I didn't even know what that was. And going to the kirtan just opened up my mind to such acceptance of what it was, because it was all energy. It was totally an energetic experience, and that's my thing. I always said that from when I was a kid. I don't know anything except vibes. I can tell when someone's good or bad or whatever. But anyway, he's just an amazing guy. And then he kind of went off to Costa Rica to do some things. And again, I'll let him tell us about it. But I saw he was back in town, and I was like, I gotta talk to him. So let's welcome him to the stage. Hey there, Hardy.
Hello, Hardy.
Hey, what's up, guys?
How you doing, my
Thank
friend?
you so much for coming.
Oh, I'm doing good. I'm doing good. Back in New York after 18 months in Costa Rica.
Yeah, man. Costa Rica sounds amazing. And you're heading back there, right? You're not staying in New York, or you don't know yet?
I'm putting it out there that end of November I'll be going.
Okay.
But since I went there, I've been kind of living like just trusting and surrendering, and really, really at a different level of trusting and just going with it. So like if it's for some reason I got to get out next week, if it feels right, then I'm going to leave. I
Right.
would not like to, so I'm going to, hopefully not, but wherever I'm supposed to go, I'm supposed to go. But to share like how that journey started in that aspect it was March 13th. Hi.
Yeah. We just got a bunch of people. They love to welcome our guests, so I'm just putting them
Awesome.
up
Hi,
there.
Ninja. Welcome.
Oh,
Hey,
Hardy,
Courtney.
Hardy is adorable. He is way more than adorable. That's just one of his amazing traits. So go ahead. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. I just like
Nah,
to.
it's all good.
Yeah, yeah.
So March 13th, 2020. That week, a few weeks prior, I was in Costa Rica, fell in love with the person I was dating. That's a whole story and a half. That's like ayahuasca telling me, and all this stuff happened. I'd come back, and my partner, she was like wanting to go somewhere. Like she was like, I can't be here. She wasn't happy with their work. And I'm like, listen, we were just on vacation in love in Costa Rica, and we're back here. You just want to get out. But intuitively, something was going on. And then the whole thing with Corona was like showing up in the news in other countries. And I kind of was like foreseeing something's gonna happen here. We're gonna close down. She wants to get out. I was like, you know what? I don't think I want to be stuck in a quarantine type of place, locked in. Like, I just came back from nature. So I called up Tom, my partner. I was like, listen, I don't think it's something's going to happen. And I don't know if we could afford to pay everybody. We just had a director, like two managers and a manager on top of that supervising them. And we got to pay me and you. So I was like, I'll take off so you could still be able to pay our managers and let them work. You don't have to pay me. I'll go back on vacation. What do you think? And he was kind of like on the same page, like, that's a good idea. Like he kind of saw something happening too. And he was like, that's probably a good idea, thinking it'll be like 2 weeks. So on March 13th, me and the girl like decided to go. We told our parents 2 days notice. Me and this girl were dating, and just fell in love. I haven't even met her dad. And I'm taking her to Costa Rica, and, their parents are like, you're taken to another country, like watch the news, like in that Matrix world. So
sure.
I thought it was gonna be hard for her, but it wasn't even that bad until I got to the airport. So I got to the airport, and I had one of the hardest decisions to make in my life. I'm at Newark Airport, waiting for the airplane. People are wearing masks. I'm wearing gloves. I don't know what's going on. Like it's just like everybody's in a state of like confusion. Lockdown hasn't happened, but something's coming. It's all over the news. I'm just hoping the plane doesn't get canceled. At that point, I get a phone call from my sister, and my sister is a year and 3 months apart from me.
Oh, we lost you for a second.
Oh no.
Hold on. He'll come back.
Turn into a swirly light. I suppose is what we all are.
So we'll remind him when he gets back that he's talking about his sister. But this is a great story so far. I'm digging it.
You are a swirly light.
I want him to go a little further back because Hardy was from what I know. I didn't know him back then. But I actually I should ask him before I bring up these photos. But he was like kind of like a suave entrepreneur kind of guy. He was always wearing suits. He had short hair. He was like always partying, like high end, like like the bottle service guy. You know what I mean? And he was living a very different life. Looks like he dropped out. He'll probably try to join back in, hopefully. He was living a very different life, and that's when he discovered the float place, or floating in general. So he had done it at someone's house in their basement. They had a float tank set up, and
wow,
he loved it. And
my
he just
house basement.
Yeah, he just saw something in it, and he wanted to make a business out of it, and he saw, he wanted to share it with people, and he's like, this is what I'm going to do, and he created the Float Place. They have 2 locations, one in Patchogue, one in Deer Park. I know none of our listeners are on Long Island really, except you occasionally.
Yeah, you've been telling me about him and the Float Place for a long time. He's probably one of the considering that we're only just now having him on the show. We've chatted about Hardy.
Oh yeah. Well, you know what? He was in Costa Rica, and he kind of
he was unavailable.
Yeah, he actually, I guess he didn't get to the part. I don't think he's a part of the Float Place anymore because, one of the things he wanted to do in Costa Rica was related to spirituality and wellness, and I think even ayahuasca. He wanted to start doing retreats. I think he's studies as a shaman. He studies under shaman, and that's his vibe. I don't know if you can feel that, but I always felt that.
When you just said shaman, I usually say shaman. You say
shaman.
Shaman is shame.
What a shame. Shaman. It's a shaman. I usually say shaman too. I don't know.
I'll let you do the directing after he returns, but of course we got to get his.
Sure. Hold on. He's calling me. Let me answer the phone. Hey, Hardy.
Hey man, I don't know what's going on. The computer's turned off.
Okay.
And that's not turning on.
Huh.
It's never happened.
You want to do it on your phone? Can you set your phone down on your table and just go to that link on your phone? I could send it to you on your phone.
Yeah, I could do that. I think I got 12.
Okay. You
Mercury retrograde in full effect.
You have a charger or no?
For those of you who don't know anything about Mercury in retrograde, especially this time, technical difficulties is a huge part of it.
Oh, I see. Okay.
My show.
So let me send you the
voiceover actor, narrator for Food Paradise, and you can mute yourself, Michael. Yeah, thank you. I'm the narrator for Food Paradise, and we had so many interesting technical difficulties this week. None of the headphones were working. All of the right ears were out of multiple pairs of headphones. And I had to do my whole show with one ear off the whole time, which I hate doing because I have very sensitive ears and I like to listen. But when I mentioned that to a couple other friends that I was having technical problems, everybody else was reporting the same technical problems. So if you've been having little difficulties this week, the past few days, just know you're not alone. I literally listened to a couple different YouTube channels who are like spiritual people. A guy named Victor Odo I listen to a lot because he's always reporting about some of the cosmic energies that are going on, and makes me feel better when things go a little nuts. And I go check out his channel, and he's like, "So have you been feeling a little nuts?" And I'm like, "Oh, thank you, Vic. Yes, I've been feeling a little nuts."
I missed what you were talking about. I was trying to troubleshoot
about the Mercury and Gatorade.
Oh yes, totally. Yeah, he just said it. I don't know, but he's gonna try to come on his phone, and I'm gonna embarrass him. I'm gonna pull up these photos. It looks like he's there.
Some before and after.
And he's back.
Hey, we got him.
Cool. Can you do me a favor, Hardy?
Yeah.
And I asked this of all of our guests who come in on their phone. Can you turn it sideways?
Yeah.
Man, look at that. Now you're big as us. Awesome.
I feel like I got a halo on my head.
You do have a halo on your head.
Can't beat that.
There are no coincidences, Hardy. We know this already.
I've got a Peter Pan shadow. If anybody sees it do anything other than what I do,
Peter Pan.
Just let me know. Let's finish back to my feet.
So Hardy, I didn't bring these up. I'm gonna bring them up. I'm hoping not to embarrass you. But I kind of went back further. Let me just see what I got here. Chrome tab. No, I want a window. This is what I want. So I went back further and I said Hardy didn't always live this way. He was a bit of a partier at one point in his life, and he was like kind of that entrepreneur kind of guy. So I have some photos I grabbed off your Facebook. Please.
That's Vinny from the Jersey Shore.
I didn't. You know what? I didn't want to I blacked out the faces, but
that's Vinny from the Jersey Shore.
That's Vinny from the Jersey Shore, and then another one. I guess this might be some Jersey Shore folks too. But
I was at my sister's wedding.
I wanted to show another side of Hardy. And then I wanted to show, of course, the triumphant. This was one of the events that you had done, and this was a kirtan on the beach. And let me just talk about that for a minute, because this experience was pretty.
Yeah, Michael, can you explain what a kirtan is for those?
Yeah, exactly. It's pretty. It was a pretty significant experience for me. I would actually. I can certainly explain it in my words, and I love to tell that story, but I would love to hear Hardy explain. You know what? We never asked him our question, but basically, Hardy, explain to us what a kirtan exactly is. What happens at a kirtan?
What happens at a kirtan? So pretty much a kirtan just basically is just chanting. So basically, there's musicians that are leading a chant, and the chant is not just like, you know, you're saying anything. It's these mantras, these Sanskrit mantras that the person leading it will sing it, and then everybody sings it back. And they try to be one voice. They try to sing it together. It's really, and how you sing it, even if you're not sure what it means, is you're really chanting to the divine, whatever that means to you. And you go back and forth, and what happens is it creates this energy, and it starts building up. It starts, you know, depending how the music is, all of a sudden you're releasing different emotions, because it could be really energetic where you're just getting like into it and you want to dance, and like, and that's the type of energy. Then there's an energy of like sadness coming through, like the way the song is. So it kind of goes through these waves, and it's all intuitive. Like nobody's got an order of what songs they're going to play. And each kirtan's different. That one that you went to was something that came through to me. It was like, why don't you do kirtan at the beach during a sunset? So everybody's watching a sunset while we're chanting. Some people are just meditating, you know, and it's just a powerful experience to get a group of people together.
Yeah. And I want to say too, you know, you're talking about Sanskrit. I think there's 2 languages on the planet that if you sit in front of they have a plate where it'll absorb vibration with sand, and the words will actually, they form geometric patterns. The ancient languages are far superior to the more recent languages on this planet that have real resonance to the vocals. And you know, there's a lot of healing that comes from vibration. You know, all is vibration. Everything is vibrating. Everything has a frequency. You know, and I guess a vibrational frequency is the best, easiest way to explain. You can continue, Hardy.
So yeah, like Sanskrit is a vibrational language. So when you're saying these mantras, it's not they're not what's coming out of your mouth. It's a vibration that's creating within your body. Yeah. Right.
Can you give us an example? Give us a mantra.
Yes, so like one of my favorite mantras has to do with Ganesh, right? The remover of obstacles, manifesting, because I connect with him. I have stories with him. I've, you know, see him and he connects with me. So one of the main mantras is very simple. It's Om Gam Ganapatehe Namaha. And if you keep chanting that, it gets into some type of vibration within you. You do it 108 times and it's going to be pretty powerful. Like, and I really connect with his energy. Like in this room, we have a statue of Ganesh. We did that chanting here to open up the space. And I really bring, like, he really removes obstacles. He's also known as the one who puts obstacles in front of you, right? So in order for us to like level up, we have to go through these obstacles in life, right? If everything was easy, what would we learn, right? We wouldn't grow. You know, a lot of people look at life and they see something coming their way. I've started changing the direction of it. Like, it's not negative. It's an opportunity to grow and learn. You know, this is just the school we're in.
Hot and moves the pendulum back and forth. It's when you hit the obstacle that you know, and so often the obstacles are invisible. It's just
what's that saying? The obstacle is the path, right? Or something
the
like
obstacle is the path.
Yeah.
And you're describing that boat ride, right? Like that goes back and forth.
Yeah.
Pirate ship.
Remember the amusement park? You went all the way up and you're scared shitless, and you're just like, and then you go down and you're screaming, and you go back up and you're like, oh my God, heart's beating. So life is like that. Like, you know, you're saying it's like you go all the way up there, your heart's racing, but then you go down and you're like, oh shit. But you know what? Sometimes when you could go, oh shit, or you could just put your hands up and be like, yes, and I surrender, and this is gonna be the best freaking
exactly what I was saying,
ride of my life, right?
And that's the best way to ride it, right?
Yeah.
It's you know, like and I think that's what I did when I went to Costa Rica. I had everything against me where people are like, what are you doing? Like, this is like the worst time to go. Like, you don't even know what's going on. And I just was like, I listened to my heart and my intuition. I was just like, I'm going. I don't know why. My sister was on the phone. She had like 2 businesses started, a new house building in the process. It was the toughest part of her life. Our parents are in Long Island. She's in Jersey. And she's like, she's never asked me of anything my whole life. And I'm really close to my sister. And she was just like, can you just not go this time and go another time? And I was like, I can't. And then she asked me, well, can you at least explain to me why? And at that moment, my heart was broken in the sense that I couldn't give her an answer. I just said, I don't know. I just know.
But your answer was, I'm being called, really. I mean, right?
But to imagine trying to explain that to someone who loves you dearly, and she had a right to ask me, like there's she can't get to my parents if something happens. We don't know what's going on. She has 2 businesses, 2 kids, and a house being built, and she has their in-laws that she has to watch on. She's like, you're with mom and dad all the time. Can you? COVID. This is right before, like a few days before the lockdown, and I had to make one of my hardest decisions. And I've realized in life, when you have these hard decisions to make and you trust your gut, you're going to realize why you made that hard decision. It's not going to show up right away. I had a lot of tough decisions to make while I was there, about should I take the chartered flight back now, later. I had a business partner wanted me to come back, and I was like, I don't want to come back. And he's like, what do you mean? And I was like, I don't feel that it's right. And I had to trust my intuition and not let my ego get in the way. So many times that it taught me something. The biggest thing I learned from being in Costa Rica, and which part I grew in, is my intuition muscle. So that's why when you ask me when I'm leaving, I'm kind of like, whenever I'm supposed to, I'll know. And I'm going to live my every moment of my life like that. And I've been living my life like that, but that intuition muscle has just got stronger and stronger because I keep listening. It's like, if you keep listening, everything starts unfolding. I'm creating my reality. And Michael, like, I remember when I first met you, and you were just starting on this path, or this reawakening to your truth. And now, when you were just talking and I was listening to you before, I'm like, you're living the life that you wanted at this moment. You have 2 jobs,
and so aware of it too, which is what's so amazing. I'm just like,
that is the best part.
I'm just like, I've completely manifested everything that I wanted, and my life may not seem perfect to anybody except me. Like, my life is perfect for me, and hell, yeah. What else do I need to say about that, right?
I mean, I see it. I see it, and what happens is, when you're living in the flow of your life and you're creating your own reality, you're in a state of love more. Everybody sees it. They might not know the description of it, but they see the love, right?
Right.
They want to be around you. They want to be close to you. You attract the similar people, like right over here, like Jesse, and you guys create, and then the creative energy creates this beautiful thing just because you cared about sharing what you were doing. And the intention wasn't of, let's create this podcast, let's get thousands of people listening to it so that we can make all this money. It was like, no, we need to get this. We like doing this, we enjoy it. We need to get it out there. And people are whoever's going to show up is going to show up, and let the universe do what it needs to do, and it'll unfold on its own.
Yeah, and Hardy, if I can interject for a second, me and my girlfriend were just talking the other day just about relationships and about communication. And, I think most people will say, the easy thing of like, communication is key. But what they don't really understand about when there isn't communication is that there is always communication. Communication is felt by energy. If you're in a relationship, whether it's a friendship or, a romantic relationship, and you don't feel right about the relationship, that energy is felt by your partner. They know it. Even if they don't know that they know it, they know it. And, I saw with my relationship with my now ex-wife, that so much problem we had stemmed from what I was not willing to admit to, but I felt. And, it didn't matter that I wasn't articulating the troubles and concerns that I had. They would work themselves out in other ways. And something would happen, and I'd be like, how could this happen? Well, superficially, we may be the greatest couple in the universe, but under the surface, there were troubles. and those troubles would manifest themselves in physical ways. And, we would be shocked all the time because there was no verbal anything that would have told us that this was going to happen, except if we were really being honest with ourselves, that the energy of those troubles were there the whole time. And that is why it's so important to communicate, because you are communicating. And when people don't understand what they're feeling, if they don't get the energy that they're receiving, that tends to cause even more trouble. So honesty is always the best policy.
Wow.
Because people know what's going on, and we feel that strangeness.
So Jesse, I'm going to interrupt you and
Sure.
hang on a second, Hardy. But you just really made me realize that something else important about communication, and yes, communication is key, and all of these things. A big part of communication is actually communicating with yourself, because I've had so many interactions lately. Like I was having those issues with my mom that we were talking about. I had a couple of interactions with my girlfriend they hit me by surprise, something she might have said. And I felt that response like, what do you mean? But I didn't manifest that response physically. I said, hey, no, I need to think about this. I need to process this. And I was able to process and communicate how it felt to me, whatever she said or whatever it was that happened. And I was just like, in retrospect, looked back at it and I was just like, man, that was pretty cool. I just figured out, enough on the next step of communication. Like I was already pretty good at it. And I was just like, man, this shit is like getting easier and easier by the minute.
Yeah, and what you're saying too goes back to the thing I said, about breakthrough with me, with my family, was realizing when I was communicating with them that when I would verbally communicate, I was projecting a lot of anger and frustration towards them and what they were saying. But what I was really feeling was sadness and frustration. And now, when I don't think my dad knows what to do anymore, when he, behaves maybe a little abruptly towards me, and I go, dude, you really hurt my feelings. Because that's the truth. The truth is,
fuck you, Dad.
Yeah, what's going on is I'm really hurt by this. This is upsetting me.
Right. Exactly.
And and when I do that, I think he kind of goes, oh, because if somebody's interacting with you, as we said, it's out of love ultimately, even when it seems like it's, not that. It seems like it's the other thing. If they didn't really care on some level, they wouldn't say anything. So when you hit somebody back with this hurts me, it tends to kind of redirect and the other person go internal so they can see what you're saying. They can see how they really feel. They can communicate with themselves and realize, oh, okay, well, what I really feel is this, and what I'm communicating to you is something that's hurting you. That wasn't what my goal was. My goal was never to hurt you, obviously. I was trying to get this across because I care. And then it gives them a chance to sort of reassess themselves. So, when somebody's coming at your hard, it really pays to kind of throw them off by going back at them really sweetly. I used to do that on Twitter all the time. Somebody would be like, nah, 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 and I'd be like, what? Why so mad?
I got
demystify it.
I would love to continue this with a story about my dad, right? Yeah. So I had this realization in the float tank. I came out of this float, and like me and my dad, a lot of sons and fathers, different generations, we get into it, right? And especially when we worked together in a business. I owned a Subway right before the float place, and he had all this anger because he had to run it for a while because I was in my party days, which I'll get into, drinking all the time for 15 years, blacking out, and he had to deal with that. And here I am changing. So every time I would come home, he'd bring something up about the business, and we would get into this argument. And it was a constant thing for, we'd get really angry, and it, the interaction would increase in volume.
What happened? Oh no.
Oh no.
Oh no, Hardy!
Oh, no.
I hope his battery didn't die. Right in the middle of the story, his battery might have died. He said he only had a certain amount. We're gonna have to have him back. That sucks.
Try the computer again, Hardy. We're calling you in.
I'm imagining he's gonna call me. Oh man, but what a great guy, man! Holy moly! I
love Hardy.
Listening to his stories and
finally get him on. I see Eric LaSalle says misses me on Facebook. I appreciate that, Eric. It's funny getting myself off of social media. Oh, I've been wanted to. We'll chat about this just as something to chat about while we wait for Hardy. But
He's, you know what? Now that I thought about it, if his phone died, he's not even going to be able to call me.
He might not be able to get back to us.
Yeah,
We'll have to have Hardy on another time in case
just knocked him off.
Get him over here. But the energy exchange, which is a title for this show that we had at a certain point, the energy exchange is lovely when it's with somebody like Michael Zen, or when it's with somebody that you love, like my girl Julie. But when you can't exactly control the energy exchanges that you are opening yourself up to, it's a real, it could be a real nightmare for people who are very open. I learned through being the child of a celebrity that there was a lot of people who were sort of holding themselves down because in their mind society's standards said that they were poor, or they were uneducated, or they were a blue collar person, or whatever it might be, and taking their cues from society as to what they were. And I've always inherently known that we all had value. One of the things about the Muppet Show, which I always love to talk about, was
great
Kermit,
story earlier, by the way.
Was that Kermit saw the value in these people that inherently nobody else could see the value in. Fozzie Bear had a spot on the Muppet Show, even though any objective viewpoint would say this man has no talent. Do not put him on your show. And
He's a bear.
Yeah, you could say that Kermit was not a very good show producer by allowing these people to come on, his show, but he saw value where society would not necessarily give value. And I really believe that everybody has something to offer.
Such a great message. Yeah. Such a amazing.
And that we're all inherently equally valuable. So in going out into the world and realizing, ultimately realizing that people were giving me power all the time, unearned. And it was funny because I'm somebody who really believes in earning your way and earning power. That's something that my father and my mother taught me. The story, if you ever want to hear the story of Dee Snider and Suzette Snyder making their way in the world. There's a reason why Twisted Sister's entering music was "It's a Long Way to the Top If You Want to Rock and Roll" by AC/DC, because that is what they experienced. And I heard just story after story of their failure and their failure and their failure and their failure that ultimately led to their success. Right. It was about making it, about
they have that great documentary that really this is a great story. Yeah.
That definitely will be a really good version of it. And my father's book, which I helped to edit, is another great source for that. If you ever want to hear a great story of this triumph. So I learned all of this, like, you're going to earn it, you're going to work for it, you're going to earn it and work for it. So I'm always like trying to earn it and work for it in the areas that I love, music and comic books. And, when I became a voiceover actor, anything that I do, like, I want to understand it better than anybody. And I want to be the most valuable. Comics is a great example where I set out to read every major comic book of all time. Anything that anybody considered impressive or great or important, I wanted to read it, even if it was terrible. And I got a couple issues in it. I'm like, I don't like this at all, And I was like, well, people consider this to be a big deal. I want people to know. I want to be able to say, yes, I read that. I understand that. I know about that. And, we've been researching a thing recently for a comic book thing for a company. And it deals with a lot of Christian Bible, or New Testament kind of stuff. And I've been reading the Bible a lot because I need to, for me, in my mind, I need to know that stuff to be a credible, worthwhile arbiter of this.
I love that about you, how you get into your work, man. I've watched you so many times get into your projects, and you you're almost like a character actor. You really study the person or whatever. It's like
I tried, to really to be educated in what I'm talking about. And when I started to recognize that the times where I would be given the most power had absolutely nothing to do with what I had worked.
The work that you put in.
Nothing, man. Nothing. It was about superficial bullshit.
Dude, and it's funny because I really watch you I mean, you know, we're good friends, and I know that that's an issue for you, and it's like there's so many facets to that freaking issue. It's not just like people don't understand, you know. It's not just like, oh, he's D. Snyder's son. It's like there are so many facets to, you know, how you grew up and all of these different things. I mean, you know, of course people don't take that into consideration because they're just like, oh, it's D. Snyder's son.
Well, yeah, and here I am putting so much time and effort into offering real value. You know, like I think anybody who's spent time with us sees that I'm pretty well worn in this spiritual world, and you know, while I'm not somebody like my brother Cody who tends to be able to like quote different you know, spiritual teachers and stuff, I take their message and the value that I can get from them, and I move on with my life. And you know, I can't always report back to you exactly where I got this piece or that piece because
Right.
I'm, you know, a whirlwind. I'm just trying to absorb as much information and to be as valuable as I can as a source of knowledge. But
Right.
when I started to see where I would actually get lifted, you know, where I would be held in high regard, it was so disheartening because it was always about the position that I was in based on where I was coming from in the world. Not even necessarily always that I was a celebrity child, but no matter what my father did, I grew up in a, you know, in what was considered more of like a blue to white collar neighborhood. I was in a white collar. I was a white man. I was, you know, I had a job working at Marvel. Didn't matter what that job was and how I was viewing it or whatever. It all of a sudden changed everything for this person. It didn't matter that I knew better than every other writer who was working at Marvel what was going on in the universe, how to best treat it, what the people who were reading the books cared about, what they wanted to see. I knew better than all of them. It wasn't until I had a job at Marvel that it mattered to anybody. It wasn't about the value I was bringing that was true value. It was about the superficial value that I could name.
Right.
You know, right now, one of my best friends, he's got a, he just got, I'm so proud of him. He wrote an episode of Young Justice, which is a great animated series, a beloved animated series. There's a new season coming out in the next couple months. And he wrote one of the episodes because he's maintained a lot of great relationships with various people in the animation industry. And eventually he got offered a job. He wasn't even like trying to get in. And he's a comic book writer. And he wrote an episode of this thing. Well, I could tell you that he has increased his ability to get work at any of these comic book companies about 1 billion-fold, because now they can say that he is an animation writer, even though it's just one episode, doesn't matter, one episode. Now they can promote him as an animation writer for a DC Comics-based animated series. And superficially, that's all they care about.
You know, there's a lot of superficiality out there in this world, you know.
When I learned this, and I learned it very young, and I just, it just gets reinforced and reinforced and reinforced. And I have tried to buck the system because I think it is so, it's not merit-based. It is superficial merit-based. It is the things that we're looking to hear, not the reality of anything that somebody has earned or, you know, a place that they've gotten to, you know, intellectually or whatever.
Sure.
I started to try in my life, and I've been doing this my whole life. When I was a MTV2 VJ, I was available on MySpace, and I used to talk to all of these people, these kids who would reach out to me who were cutters and were depressed. And you know, to this day, I have these people reach out to me and they'll thank me. And it's very, very sweet because, you know, within making myself available, there are absolutely people who have cared and who have gotten that I was using the power.
And who have needed to reach you, not just superficially, but like needed to.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And these people have seen that I took whatever power I had and I said, let me give it to you. This is superficial power. It doesn't matter. We're all one.
Ooh, I like that.
Like you ultimately. And, you know, and I want you to know that. And I don't want to carry myself in a way that portrays me as anything other than an equal to all of humanity. And because I don't believe that that's the thing. You know, when I was on the football team and, you know, they were hazing the underclassmen, I thought it was bullshit when I was being hazed. And then when I became a senior and one of my friends went to go haze the underclassmen, I literally stopped and I went, dude, are you serious? Like, did we appreciate that when that was done to us? like, do we want to continue to perpetuate that stupidity?
Oh, look at you changing the world.
Well, yeah, because
Hell
I
yeah.
had
Hell
the
yeah.
moment to do it. So I said, I now am in a power position.
I love
I'm
it.
going to turn this tide back the other way. So me being available on social media was me attempting to take what power I had and turn it back the other way. But what really ended up happening instead was I made myself available to the crabs beneath me, who were the petty crabs, who wanted to use me,
Vampires, energy vampires.
yes, to pull power out of me. And I was offering the power. I was going, I don't believe in this power, so I'd like to offer it. But literally for years, you know, I've been doing ayahuasca now, you know, probably like a dozen sessions, and for at least the second half of my journey with Mother Ayahuasca, she has been telling me to get off of social media, and I did not understand exactly why she wanted me to do that until I did it. And then, like, literally as soon as I did it, I realized. And you know, and it's funny too, because before I say exactly why, you know, I'll say that when it comes to women, I hate people who play hard to get. I'm a sensitive guy. If I'm interested in somebody, I tell them I'm interested in you. And if they're like, and they're actually interested in me, they've just lost me. They have lost all interest that I might have had. I'm like, oh, you're playing the games with me? Nope. I don't play games with you. You're not gonna play games with me. I don't believe in these superficial games where I'm trying to I got one up on you, you got one up on me.
What's that called?
One upping, you know, it's like I don't play the negging game, which a lot of boys play. You know, like if you play in the reindeer games are, you're a dick, oh, you're a gay, you're this, you're that.
Touching grass is better. Totally true, Taylor. Social media is the leading cause of brain rot.
Yes,
Touching grass is better. I love that. It's so true.
And this game,
except here we are on social media.
Well, you know, there are different levels of it. And
you know, we're doing a good thing. I'm
allowing
just teasing
yourself
ourselves.
to be in the middle of the courtyard where anybody can come up to you and get into an argument with you for no reason, where you're allowing yourself to be shared with everybody at any time. That sort of accessibility, I think, is hurting all of us. Right. Because it's just putting us into that reindeer game where this person's posting the meme. Oh, somebody like people are doing a lot of these things for ego reasons.
It's tainted energy exchange for sure.
Yes, it's a tainted energy exchange. Yeah. You know, and I thought for a little while that I could still play that game by just offering kind energy as best as I could. You know, at a certain point, I really tried to remove anything that I thought was like a righteous or baiting, you know, like where like what I said was sort of baiting to somebody in the world. Right. And I was like, I don't want anything. Bless me. I don't want anything that I say or post to be bait for an argument or bait for somebody's hurt feelings. And I think that if I could do that, if I could keep everything really tried and true and altruistic, that it was still worth my time, because I wanted to offer that energy, that I wanted to offer that even playing field, and I wanted to continue to live my life from that place that I believe in, you know, of that we're all equal and we should all be honored in a fair way. But Mother Ayahuasca was right. And just the little bit of playing hard to get, essentially, by taking myself off of social media. You know, I am an artist. I was only available on social media because I was offering myself as a musician, as a comic book writer, as an intellectual. And I wanted people to be able to see that even though I was that person, that I believed that I was of an equal playing field, and I wasn't holding myself in any sort of higher regard, you know, or having any hubris to what I, you know, was doing, and that I wanted us all to be one, and I was willing to participate in a fair and even sort of way. But by doing that,
this is more like PBS.
But by doing that, I was absolutely offering myself up to those who wish to suck energy, who wish to take power.
You know what? Maybe that's what this platform is about. Maybe now you can still offer yourself out there.
Well, it is. Can I tell everybody that we doubled our listenership the moment I got off social media.
There you go.
I thought mistakenly that I wasn't going to be able to reach people and people weren't going to know that the show, we've been doing the show for a long time. So of course people know the show, it's happening and going on. But I, had a small fear that our listenership might drop off. It doubled the first week that I was off social media. And I literally just meditated on that immediately afterwards. And, and I connected to Mother Ayahuasca, to try to talk to her and go, so what, I don't understand. And she was just sort of like, you made yourself so available, the things where you meant to make yourself available the most were being ignored because it was the easiest to make yourself available one-on-one. And then people could deal with you in a way where they felt like, you weren't larger than life in any fashion. But you are larger than life, and you have larger than life messages to give to people. And if they don't have to work for it, they won't. Right. But if they do,
that's great. Oh, that's cool. That's awesome.
Yeah, and that's what we're doing overnight, where I saw more traffic on my website and more.
Nice.
It's really so silly how we all tend to work. But there is truth to, if you're worth it and your time and your energy is worth it, people will find you. People will seek you out. People won't forget. But if you're so available that they can just go and let me see what's going on Facebook, and they feel like they've been able to get the energy from you and not necessarily the focused energy that you're meaning to give.
Right.
I'm not here to be available on social media.
That being said, I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you, but it's so hard to get a word in sometimes with you.
Sorry. I apologize.
If people do want to reach you on social media, Angela is saying she still has the fan page up, and she was running on your behalf. And Angela is someone who's very special to us, and you especially. You guys have known each other for a long time. She said earlier, I'm just going to bring this up. She said, I've known Jesse before he was married to Patty, an amazing person who's always been kind and considerate to everyone. That's something I've always felt and knew about you, and that's why we're such good friends. I
will tell you guys where you can get a hold of me if you need to, appropriately. But Angela, these aren't real, but they mean just as much to me. She printed these out for me for my birthday as a sweet little gift. I got loaded with a puppets package, and she made these cool little angel card reading cards for me for my birthday. Thank you, Angela.
Oh, look at that. That's awesome. So here's this. I love this comment that she made. You were giving out candy everywhere. Now this is your candy shop.
Exactly. And you know what? And that's the way it really needs to be to focus people and focus my energy. I have so much more energy now that I've kicked the social media thing. It was funny. I made a bunch of changes over the course of a couple months, and getting off social media was one of them. And I immediately realized how much of my energy was being taken.
Yeah, just misdirected, misused, whatever.
Yeah, and that the edge of the sword is my music. The edge of the sword is the live stream of consciousness. It's writing comic books. I want people to go to my work. And I actually realized too that there was this fabulous thing that happens sometimes when people know you, that they're actually nervous to read your work or deal with your work because they don't want to have a personal relationship with you, and not know that they didn't.
I don't like that.
Yeah. And so there's a lot of things that I learned from taking myself off social media, but it was a must. However, there are ways to access me. I just redid my website for hosting and voiceover work.
What's the URL? I'll put it up.
It's jessesnyder.com. And actually hidden within my website, there are links to an alternative website, which is my artist website, which is a hidden site because so much of my voiceover work and my hosting work sometimes gets the fact that I'm a musician and I'm a comic book geek, it confuses people. And so I had to make a site for my management and whatnot that is just very straight, even my spiritual nature. It's just people who don't know, they don't know what that means. What does that mean? You're a spiritualist. What does that mean that you did ayahuasca? So again, I decided to play a little bit more cagey. But for those who want to investigate, if you click around on my website, jessesnyder.com, you'll actually find the secret jesseblaze.com.
Give us a hint. Give us a clue. Where do we have to click?
I'm not giving any hints. If you want to, you're going to have to go, and maybe next week somebody can tell you how you can find your way over to there. It's a secret to everybody. But there's an additional website layered into my website that you can find, and has links to my music, links to comic book stuff, and cool things. And that'll actually be updated more in the future and be more available in the future. Like, more things will be available on it. But yeah, I really had to adjust how I was putting myself out into the world because of the energy suck of the social media. And what I'm saying about me, this applies to everybody. And there are ways to get me through YouTube. I have my I have an email account that's set up specifically for people if they want to write an email to me. But that is, I check that when I feel like it. I get to that when I do, and I can control these things a lot more, and I'm not quite so easily accessible as I was yesterday, where I was constantly being sort of distracted from the real work that I do as a writer and a producer and a voiceover guy, to to focus on the stuff that I really love and that I really care about, and to actually focus people's attention to be able to access me at the time I'd like to be accessed. I want to be accessed
awesome
once a week for the live stream of consciousness.
I love it.
Things that matter to me.
Yeah.
This is what matters.
So if people want to access me,
what do you got?
There's my website.
And you should.
I'm a big play on words guy. It's photosynthesis.com, because I take a photo and I change the energy of it. But anyway, I just we're like going over the top, which is cool because it's just naturally happening. But I figured let's take a little bit of a tangent from the spirituality stuff we always talk about and get into a little bit. I have a question for you about the pop culture stuff. Have you seen any of the new Netflix show Squid Game?
Squid Game? No, I don't know anything
about it. Oh, wow. All right. I know some of the people in the audience must have seen it.
I saw Venom 2, which was bizarre.
So yes. Oh, I couldn't even watch the whole thing. I was just like, ooh.
It was kind of funny. I've never seen a movie with a strange, like a more crazy tone shifts. Like it shifts in tone like crazy. And there's a whole bunch of like glaring moments where all I could see in the movie was that the people who wrote and produced it had absolutely, under no circumstances, had they ever read a comic book that featured Venom in it. And that just pisses me off to
yeah, that's crazy.
So there's some redeeming aspects to it.
Yeah. So Squid Game is actually Netflix's, I think it's their biggest hit so far, even bigger than what's that, the Tiger King. Yeah, and it's basically, it's interesting because it's a Korean series. It's not English, but it's dubbed over, and it's a really interesting kind of like deadly game story where like you have to play a game or die kind of thing, and there's like a whole bunch of people, and I don't want to give it away because I want you to watch it.
It's fiction, or is it like a reality show?
No, it's a story. It's like, yeah, it's not a reality show, or it's not a real game show, but it's kind of like that's the storyline. I don't know if any of our audience has seen it, but if you want to check out something cool, I enjoyed it. I had to get past the first episode because the lead character is super negative. Like he's mean to everyone, like his mom, and he's got this energy, and they're setting you up, obviously. But like he was just so, I have a hard time with that because of my own energy. So when it's so far the opposite, like I have a hard time with it. Like I don't like Larry David, as funny as he is just.
That is the thing that actually made me love the show Faulty Towers, which is an older show written by John Cleese of Monty Python.
British show.
And I am the least pretentious person on the planet. I hate pretension. Literally what we were talking about earlier was me trying not to be pretentious, me trying not to take unearned victory and,
right.
myself up to some. And I find that show hysterical because I can't relate to him at all. And every week I'm just like,
That's so funny.
You know, like I just don't get it. But like at the same time,
Ninja just started watching Squid Game, and she says it's freaky.
but that's a comedy and not a
Yeah.
drama.
Oh, totally. I mean,
Wow.
and then I don't know why I brought it up, but somehow it made me think of Larry David, who is what is that? Curb Your Enthusiasm.
Yeah,
And
he
like,
can hear from
I
me to
think
get-
he's hysterical. He's a great writer, a great comedian. But I just cannot. The character just puts me off so much because it's so real. It's like people like that.
Oh
With
yeah, you're always going.
that
Does he really
energy.
think that? Because I
Yeah.
think people do think that.
You know what? And he's just portraying an energy that people recognize. People like, oh, I know that energy. That really gross, get away from me energy.
Yeah, amplified to 11. It's funny. Me and my girl like to watch the show Impractical Jokers, and they're always getting Sal on the Larry David energy of like, oh, I don't want to touch that. Oh, I don't know.
Yeah.
And I mean, when I watch him, I'm just like, you asshole.
Janet loves Faulty Towers, I think.
Some things, God damn it.
Cool. Awesome.
Well, we have gotten ourselves to another fine conclusion here. I'm hoping maybe, for next week, we might be able to get Hardy to come back and conclude the show.
Yeah, maybe we could do that.
We didn't get to ask him what his definition of consciousness was.
Yeah.
Hear the conclusion of any of his stories.
Let's do that. Let's try to get him back
with his dad. And of course, I want to find out what got him on that path to the first place where he went to Costa Rica to begin with. Yep. What brought him there? I mean, granted, I can extrapolate based on some certain things he said, but I'd love to hear it from the horse's mouth and get it recorded. He was lovely, and it would be great to have him back.
Now we're like one of those Netflix shows where you got to watch the next one to like get the rest of the story.
Yeah,
well, you got to binge watch our episodes.
I'm even more of a steamroller when like we have like technical difficulties and things because I'm just like, oh no, dead air! Like that always makes me nervous.
I think we did pretty good, man. I think we kicked its ass, the technical difficulties.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. Well, thank you to everybody who came and commented and enjoyed the show again this week. Really appreciate you guys being here. Thanks again to the Rams Network for hosting us on Twitch. Thank you so much to my co-host, one of my best friends, Michael Zinn, for being with me as always and providing us with another fabulous guest. We've both been reaching out to various friends of ours, and we've got some really cool people who we're going to be having on the show in the next few weeks. We're putting together a calendar as we speak, as we finish locking in these guests that will be coming up in the next few weeks. But we will be here every Thursday at 6/9, man, for the live stream of consciousness. And we hope you will join us next week once again.
Yeah, you know what? I think I'm going to go old school with the outro. Let's go.